Hey people, I hope y'all are doing well today. There's something that I want to share with you guys that I think is very important. The other day, the Lord gave me and my family a blessing. And when that blessing was presented, my first mind was almost to reject it because it didn't come the way that I thought it should have came to us. And sometimes we can be so caught up in how we think God should answer prayers. We get so caught up in how we think God should do things that we can end up missing blessings that He places right in front of us. And as I was thinking about this, I had to be reminded by the Lord that I was the one who prayed for this particular blessing. But just because it came in a way that I didn't expect it to come doesn't mean that it's not a blessing. And as I was meditating on this, I was thinking about the story in 2 Kings chapter 5 with Naaman. Now, some people say Naaman, however you pronounce his name, but he was a commander in the Syrian army. And he was a great commander, but he had this one issue. He had leprosy. Now, if you know anything about leprosy in those days, you could be deemed an outcast from society. It was that severe. And so Naaman's wife had a servant who told him, said, I wish that he would go see the prophet Elisha so that he can be healed. So when Naaman caught wind of this, he asked the king of Aram, could he be sent to the king of Israel? And so as he was on his journey, the king of Israel got word that Naaman was coming to him to be healed. But when he heard about this, he began to panic. He said, am I God? Can I heal this man? And I want to start reading at verse 8. This is 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 8. And it says, when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his robes, he sent him this message. Why have you torn your robes? Have the man come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman went down with his horses and chariots and stopped at the door of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger to say to him, go, wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be cleansed. But Naaman went away angry and said, I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, wave his hand over the spot and cure me of my leprosy. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Couldn't I wash in them and be cleansed? So he turned and went off in a rage. Naaman's servants went to him and said, my father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then when he tells you, wash and be cleansed? So he went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times as the man of God told him, and his flesh was restored, and he became clean like that of a young boy. I think that's such a powerful story there because Naaman had this idea of how God was going to heal him. He had this idea of how Elisha would go about this thing so that he can be healed from leprosy. But as you read in the story, Elisha didn't even come face to face with him. He sent his servant to the door to tell him to go and to dip into the Jordan River 7 times. And Naaman, because this blessing, because this breakthrough, because this healing was about to come in a way that he didn't prefer. It was about to come in a way that he did not expect. It was about to come in a way that he did not see happening. He almost rejected it, and he would have continued to live with leprosy. But it took his servant coming to him and telling him, hey, if the man of God had told you to do some great thing, you would have done it. See, it takes humility sometimes to receive the promises and the blessings and the gifts that God gives us. And a lot of times we put God in a box of how he should do things. We put God in a box of how we see that things should be done in our lives and in the lives of others. But you must understand that God's ways are so much higher than our ways. He goes about things much differently than the way that we would go about them. Because God is doing something differently than what you would expect doesn't mean that he's not working in your life. See, a lot of times in life, we have these expectations of how God should bring about the breakthrough in our lives. But at the end of the day, God is going to bring the breakthrough in a way that's going to teach us a lesson, but also cause us to have the victory that we've been praying for. I believe one thing that God is pointing out in these passages of scripture is just to have humility. See, I've seen many stories of people who have had people who were presented to them for potential spouses, but because that person wasn't packaged the way that they thought that they should be packaged, they rejected that person, even though they had all of the attributes that they needed in a spouse and a significant other. They said no because it didn't come in the way that they thought it should come to them. What you must understand that God is not going to always give you what you want, but He's going to give you what you need. And you must have the humility, you must have the wisdom, you must have the discernment to know when something is a blessing from God. See, you're praying for something and you're asking God to do something for you, but the whole time that you're praying, you're expecting it to be the way that you want it to be. But at the end of the day, God is going to send it the way that He wants to send it because it's going to benefit you in the long run. So I just want to challenge you guys today to not put God in a box and understand that He's working on the things that you're praying for. He's going to give you the victory. He's going to give you the breakthrough. He's going to heal the areas of your life that you've been praying for. But what you must understand that it's not always going to happen the way that you think it should happen. It's not going to always come the way that you think it should come to you. And since it may not come the way that you feel like it should come to you, don't be so prideful that you reject the breakthrough and that you miss out on what it is that God is doing for you in your life. So I just want to challenge you guys with that today. When things are presented to you that are obvious blessings from God, don't reject them simply because it didn't come wrapped in the package that you expected it to be wrapped in. I think the greatest revelation of that is in Jesus. Many people rejected Jesus when He was here because they expected Him to be this great and mighty military leader who was going to overthrow the rulers of that day. But Jesus came completely opposite. He came lowly. He came humble. He came as a servant. And many people rejected Him because He did not come the way that they expected Him to. So don't reject God's blessings because it's not packaged the way you think it should be. Receive the things that God has for you today. God bless you all.